Hello, Jeff Foster, WebBiz Ideas. This tutorial is on on-page optimization, post Panda, post Penguin, and really post any animal update Google comes up with. This video is an update on our local SEO tutorial because basically people want to know now what Google really wants. What stuff should I be doing with on-page optimization that Google really wants that won't get me penalized or that will get me out of trouble if I'm currently been penalized. So this tutorial is an update, not necessarily saying that our other tutorials aren't relevant anymore on-page optimization, but this tutorial is more just emphasizing the things that Google really wants you to do. So I'm going to start out with a few main principles, and then we're going to go over a few main examples. So the principles here, if you're looking for a fix for the Panda Penguin, if you're looking for what does Google really want you to optimize for, here are the principles. Number one, give user experience a priority. So in other words, stop remembering what some SEO person told you or what you read online that SEO experts say and start thinking like a real person. Number two, become an expert. So whatever industry, whatever field, whatever you do, you need to become an expert in that, but you need to publish it. You need to publicly let people know that. So if you are an expert, well, not writing articles or videos or speaking events or doing anything, or that's not going to make you an expert. You have to publicly show that you are. And number three, you need to track to make sure your site is performing. Bad websites equals not good results in the search engines. So those are the principles. Everything I'm going to be talking about revolves around that. But to start, I'm going to go over some examples now. So the main three examples I'm going to go over are URLs, page titles, and then content. And content breaks down into a lot. So that's the main focus, and I'm sure you're aware of that with these updates. So to get started, let's go over the examples. So to start, URLs. A lot of people ask, what should I have in the URL of my website? So we're going to give an example of a lawyer. That's a bankruptcy lawyer, and they're in Colorado. They have 3 offices, one in Denver, one in Colorado Springs, one in Fort Collins. They're looking to build 3 different landing pages so they can rank for all 3 of their offices, which is good. But the question now is, what should the URL be? So in the past, even the software that we recommend in our old tutorials might point out to you that, hey, you might want to put the keyword in the URL, or they might say, hey, the keyword's not in their URL, and you have to make a decision of should that be in there. And so we have to go back to the principle of, is it user friendly, or are you just doing it for SEO? Because the principle is, if you're just doing it for SEO, don't do it. Don't try to rationalize, don't do it at all. So one example could be, well, I could put Denver bankruptcy lawyer into the title, right? I mean, into the URL. In fact, I could do that for all of them, right? Colorado Springs bankruptcy attorney or lawyer. Fort Collins bankruptcy attorney or lawyer, right? That could be an option. And perhaps software might tell you to do that. But here's a better recommendation. Just put /Denver. Doesn't that look more reputable? Doesn't look like that I might click on that in the search engines? Doesn't it look like if I saw this in the search engines, I say, well, they're just trying to optimize. They're just trying to rank for that. But if I saw a bank, if I saw a reputable company like US Bank like that, wouldn't that make sense? Oh, that's their Denver office, right? Oh, this is their Minneapolis office. That just looks more professional. Search engines like it. Users love it. So don't do this, instead do this. Another example. Again, none of these are really wrong, right? These still work today. And putting keywords in your URLs sometimes makes sense. Even like this example, garage door repairs. It makes sense, right? That's what they do. It's garage door repairs. But a question you should ask yourself, can it be simplified? Can it be easier? Can I make it shorter? Right? Would they still understand what it is if I just had /repairs? That's simpler, isn't it? If I was going to send someone a link, that would be easier. That's sure, if I was going to post a blog post and post a URL, well, this would look a little bit better. So my recommendation post all of this is to shorten your URLs, stop trying to put keywords in there, and just put what makes sense. Now, a lot of people have blogs as well, And the standard in the past for URLs was simply just to copy the page title or copy the blog post. You put that in the page title, you put that in the H1 tag, and you put that in your URL. And that worked fantastic for a long time because keywords were perfect in the URL. But post Panda, post Penguin, post everything, that's not the case anymore. So let's just look at Matt Cutts because he is the standard in SEO. What does he use? Here's his title, New 30-Day Challenge, No Sending Email After 9 p.m. Right? Makes sense. The URL is 30-Day Challenge, email. It's not the page title, it's a summarization of what it is. Another example he has, I do not wish my screensaver to lock my computer, thank you. URL, disable screensaver password. So again, the lesson here is consolidate, right? Summarize what the blog post is about in your URL. Same with your URLs of your website. If you can summarize what it is, well then do it. Stop putting a keyword in there. That just doesn't make sense. A real person wouldn't do that. You're doing that just because you heard for some SEO person do it. So that's what you want to stop. Stop doing what you've just heard. Now, an example here. Now, this is probably just because WordPress just automatically does this. There's SEO WordPress software. Again, they put the title, but you can't even read that title. I'm not even going to read it here in the video. It's way too long. A better way of saying it would just be, this / their blog, one category, and then the baby's name. Because that's really what this blog post is about, right? Edie Nelson's a client of ours, fantastic photographer in Minneapolis for baby and children photography, but it's all about that baby. So instead of just doing what WordPress defaults these days, why don't you do what a user defaults? Oh, this makes sense. That would be an easier URL to share with someone. Perhaps you could even share this on Twitter. It's more than like 140 characters, right? So you want to make it shorter. Shorter is better. Simplified is better with URLs. Simplify, shorten them, consolidate your URLs into easy to understand phrases or just one word. That's the lesson on that. So next, let's get into content. The rest of this is all on content because that's most important. So the first thing about content, I apologize. The next one is about page titles, and then we're going to get into content. So the first one was on URLs. The second here is on page titles. So what should the page title be for local businesses, for national business, for any business online? Now the standard that's still really in place and was definitely in the past is to put still keywords. Chiropractor, St. Paul, Minnesota. Chiropractic, St. Paul, MN. Right? So now you have Minnesota. Now you have MN. You got your abbreviation of the city, and it's put out there, right? It's great. And this is our client too, right? They rank number 1. They've been doing it for years, and that works still. But let me show you where we see the industry really going, where we see Google going, where do we see, what do they really want, and what would be better in the future. So again, a perfect example of what you can do and what was in the past is just saying what you do plus your city and state, and then another keyword, plus the city and state and abbreviation. This is of course for a local business. And so it would read something like this, right? Chiropractor, St. Paul, Minnesota. Chiropractic clinic, St. Paul, MN. But where Google's going locally, especially with Google Plus, right? Your local business listing merging with Google Plus, the company name is more important than any keyword, even the anchor text these days. So a better way to do it would just be company name and then / what you do, city and state. So in this case, the company name is McCarran Lake Chiropractic. So a better way probably to do it these days, McCarran Lake Chiropractic / chiropractor in St. Paul, MN. You still have the keywords in there, but your company name is now emphasized. And the reason is what ranks people number 1 locally has more to do these days with company names than anchor text and keywords. And so that's why you'd want to emphasize that, especially on the homepage of your website. Meta descriptions, pretty much the same thing. Put what users want. Don't stuff. It doesn't matter, right? Put your phone number. Put your address. Put the doctor, right? Put things that people want to read about. So alright, now going on to content, meaning the text on the web page or web pages. So the first thing, the example that we want to really emphasize, again going back to our principles of making it user friendly, making sure your website's performing, making sure it's converting, is no blocks of text. So a standard in the past and still used and still works is blocks of text. Right down here. What is this? It's a block of text. No one reads that. It's there for the search engines, right? If we go to other pages of the site, we're going to find the same thing. At first the site looks fantastic. They sell keychains, but boom, here's a huge block of text down here that no one reads. Number one, who buys keychains anyway? Number two, right? Who's going to read this about a keychain? No one. It's just there for SEO. It should be removed. Now, we're going to talk about a better way to do that content, but just know for now that that's wrong and that should be removed. The second part of content, for an example, is no duplicate content. Now, this is an old rule, so I'm going to briefly go over it. You need to check your website if you have duplicate content. There's two ways to do it. One, just copy any sentence randomly, throughout your page. Go to Google or go to a website like Copyscape and check to make sure you have duplicate content. So the way to do it manually in Google is just to copy a sentence, go to Google, put quotes around it, and that means that you're looking for this entire phrase and do a search. So in this case, there's 7,300 results. There's 7,300 results and 73 pages that have the same, text. I mean, eBay has it. Why does eBay have that? Right? Well, obviously, this is some sort of templated chiropractic website that everyone uses. So that's a big no-no. An easy way to do it with Copyscape is to copy the URL, put it here, click go, and it'll let you know if it's duplicate or not. Please check your text. Sometimes people copy it. Sometimes you had a web designer that built it and copied it. You need to check it because Google is going to either just not index this site, or worse, penalize you in some instances. So check to see if you have duplicate content. If you do, well, it may be one of the reasons why Google has devalued your website that you have currently, post Panda, post Penguin. Tip number 3 for content or optimizing your website is better navigation. So navigation you might not think as content, but one, it's a bunch of text, and number two, it's how everyone gets around your website. So Google doesn't just track in regards of on-page optimization, the text and just that, but they track performance. So this is an old site, an old design, and you can just see it just lists out all these categories. There's really no rhyme or rhythm to it. Now the new design is much easier. It's consolidated, right? You click on occasion and there it is. It's very, very easy to follow. So navigation can play a big role in ranking and big role in on-page optimization. Also, notice here, right, we had the words Pandora and beads everywhere in here, right? Because they sell Pandora beads, but that's not necessarily user-friendly, is it? Everyone knows it's Pandora, right? They're on the site because it's Pandora. You don't need to stuff it into the categories. So the new way of doing it could just be birthstones, Easter beads, Mother's Day beads. You don't need to put Pandora's Mother's Day beads. You can just put Mother Day beads. Right? You don't need to put every single keyword in your category structure because, right, the principle is it's not user friendly. And really, when you check the data, this actually confuses people. It doesn't perform well because they're trying to figure out, it's an animal bead. I couldn't tell because the Pandora is everywhere. So this is more user friendly. So pay attention to your navigation. Make sure it's user friendly rather than just search engine friendly. If you're a local business, this applies a lot to you as well. Again, here's an example of a site that we redesigned. The left-hand navigation didn't even have links. So right where you think that things are, that's not even there. The top header, it's kind of, they're kind of small, hard to find. It just doesn't stand out as links, right? What do I do in this site? Here's the new design. You don't need to be afraid of making a design that's just fit with everything else online. You can have big, huge buttons like this, to help people navigate if it works, right? If people come here and they know where to click, it works fantastic. And you can still code things these days, right? So these are real links, expert interviews. This is an HTML link right here when you're clicking on expert interviews. So pay attention to your navigation and make sure, again, it's user friendly. When someone comes to the page, do they know where to click? If they don't, well, you need to really think about redesigning. Even your internal pages, the same thing, right? Have your links stick out. You don't need to have these little small links up here anymore just because you want text links. Again, there's different ways of coding text these days to make it stand out, to make it big. It's still HTML friendly having these, right? Focus on the content of the page as well in these landing pages. And while we're on this page, I guess I'd like to point out another aspect of content and producing better content on page, post, Panda, and Penguin, and that would be great calls to action. So an example here on the right hand side is a call to action, right? Join our team of experts, right? A call to action is the review us button here, right? A call to action here is schedule a live demonstration today, right? You go to other pages, it's very similar. These call to actions are here. Schedule a live demonstration is here. There's call to actions throughout the site. And the reason why you want that is on-page optimization these days is, again, not necessarily about just this page, it's about does it perform, right? That was one of our principles, right? Does it have a low bounce rate? Does it have a low exit rate? When people come here, do they know what they're doing, right? Are they going through your website, or are they simply going here and just leaving because they don't understand what it's about? So what Google really wants these days is not just a perfectly optimized, page of text. What they want is people to read this page of text and then have some sort of call to action. And so, I've even posted on Flickr call to actions that I love. And so you might want to check it out. Call to actions or call outs. Very simple things. Can be fantastic. Like got 3 minutes in a video tutorial. It gets people engaging in your company and the text that you have on your website. So fantastic call to actions can really be beneficial. Some other call to actions, especially for local businesses, are these review us buttons. Again, it's getting people involved and engaged in your brand, and you want people reviewing you on Google and Yelp, City Search, right, Angie's List. And so you can download these all from our website too. I think you just search like Web Biz Ideas, something about Google and reviews, and you'll probably find this link as well. So again, use call to actions to engage people in your company and your site, and you'll find you have a better user experience. Going on, another way to create a better on-page experience. Again, we're using the word on-page. We need to stop thinking about text. We really need to start thinking about when people are on my website, how am I, creating a better experience for them? And one way you really need to focus on is desktop versus other devices, in particular smartphones and tablets, right? So if your website is not only a desktop friendly, but it's not mobile and smartphone rights friendly, you're going to have a hard time, especially in the future, and even now, on people viewing your website. It's not going to make sense. So there's definitely things that you can do, like responsive design, that's going to save you a lot of money. We have some information on that too. If you Google Web Biz Ideas responsive design, you'll find that, and it's going to teach you how you really can save a lot of money by designing one site for both. But again, if people are not coming to your website using just a normal computer, they're coming using a smartphone or a tablet, and it's not friendly, it's not user friendly, they're going to leave, and that's going to hurt you. That's a lower bounce rate. Don't think that Google can't track that stuff with Chrome, or they can't track that with their Android devices, because they can and they do. And so if your site's not performing, well, your site might not also be ranking in the search engines. They might say it's not optimized, right? The people coming to it are not having a good user experience. So you really need to pay attention to that post Panda, post Penguin. My next tip is more of a question. It's really asking, do you make the most use of great content that you have online? So what I mean by that is, do you analyze your website and see what pages are doing good? For example, we have a page, we have a landscaper that we promote, and here's just a page on outdoor patio fire pit. It's just a blog post, and to be honest, it was created by some content writers a while back, and it ranks pretty well. We know it ranks pretty well because we can look at analytic data. So let me just show you here. So if we go here to Lee's top landing pages, what we're going to find for the past 30 days is that his blog, that's the /GEV, is the second compared to his homepage. His homepage has a 31% bounce rate, but his blog has a 70%, meaning only 30% of the people that come there actually read anything and go into any other pages. That's pretty bad. At the same time, this number 4, his top fourth page is that page that I explained, and it has a 63% bounce rate. Again, it's not very good, but it has a lot of traffic. And if we dig a little deeper into the analytics, we see why. It's because a lot of people are searching for ideas, landscaping ideas, fire pit landscaping ideas, fire pit ideas, right? They're searching for all these ideas, and what they're finding is this page. And so the question again is, do you make the best use of this? Obviously not. A 60 to 70% bounce rate means that majority of people coming here don't care. They see a picture and they immediately leave because it's not about anything. So, this step is, do you take the time to go through your analytics and to look at your users? Google has so much data for you to analyze, but are you doing that, right? Are you building a website that you think looks cool and looks well designed, or are you building a website that your users actually want? And so a great tip, again, post Panda, post Penguin here, is to go back, look at your top performing websites, or look at your top visited sites, just like we were doing in Google Analytics, or the top keywords on where they land, and find out if you can do a better job. Find out if we can take this and make it what people actually want to read. For example, Lee, that was him ranking, right, for like landscaping ideas, MN, that's what's coming up. Lee's Landscapes does a lot of outdoor fireplace designs. He builds a lot of these, and he's got a lot of examples on his site. Imagine at least 2 pages of all these pictures, or we could say all these ideas. So, again, a creative way to go back with this post Panda, post Penguin is to take a look at your assets you have and redesign this. Recreate this page. Why not take this design, since it's all WordPress, copy all of these, put them on this page and say, outdoor fireplace ideas, and now they're pictures of designs he already created. Right? Why don't you go to the website and have this huge call to action, view our fireplace designs, right? And perhaps put that in the right hand side there, a call to action to engage people in the brand. And so that's what you really need to do post Panda, especially, is go back and look at the content that you've written, because if it's not performing, again, Google knows that, and that's really not optimized correctly, and you're really losing a lot of traction, right? You had, what was that, 276 people looking at that, probably locally within their area, and 70% of the people are leaving. Imagine if that was flipped and it was 70% of the people that were engaging in the company. And so you need to go back, look at the top performing pages of your site, and see if you can do a better job and create better content with what you already have. It's an easy tip to do because you already have the content created, and you already know the subject because you already created it, and it's just redesigning it. right? Make it user friendly. If you landed on this page, what would convince you to buy the product? What would you convince them to call? You need to think about that instead of just ranking for things these days. But moving on. Post Panda, Post Penguin, you need to have awesome page titles. Alright, awesome headers. Again, stop thinking as an SEO person and start thinking as a newspaper editor. Right? If I was going to put something on the first page of the New York Times, would I put something that has keyword stuffing in it because people want to read it, or would I put something that's catching? And so, right, we need to stop thinking this. I'm in Minneapolis. I do, deck design, so I need to have the words deck design Minneapolis up here. No, right? We're going to focus on custom deck settings, right? A nice phrase, turning your dreams into reality, right? A huge picture here showing the decks, right? More great spaces for your lifestyle, creativity, craftsmanship, right? Notice we have a nice call to action, online special, give them a reason, right? That's part of the content, but we're focusing on the title right now, right? So you don't need to have these perfectly optimized page titles. You don't want those. You can still rank number one just fine, right? Deck Design Minneapolis, he ranks number one. Custom Deck Design Minneapolis, he ranks number one. If we go back to this page, Deck Design Minneapolis, right? It's not even on the page. Even deck design is only mentioned a couple times on the page itself. So you don't need to have perfectly optimized page titles, right? We want you to have awesome page titles. Create your page titles from the user, and if you're doing that, obviously it's gonna talk about the subject. Otherwise, you have a problem to start with, right? It's still talking about decks. Still talking about custom decks. The page is still talking about deck design. So don't optimize this. Create this for the user. Alright, the next tip, dynamic content. So I told you I'll show you a way to create better content than content blocks. Let's see if I can go back and find what I was showing you. Here we go, right? Content blocks, right? You need content on a page, especially e-commerce sites, so they know what you're doing, but it can be hard because you want a bunch of content, but Google says don't do it. So how do you get that content on your page? And the answer is dynamic content. So one thing Amazon's been doing for a long time is this. So yeah, they still have a page description and things like that, but where's the dynamic? Right? Dynamic means almost ever changing, right? And here's one fantastic way to do it: customer reviews. Look at all this content that people add, and they rotate it. Top ones come up here, right? Most recent customer reviews. Look at how recent that content is, right? And when people describe products, what do? Well, they talk about the product. So it's like paying someone to write content for you, but except they're doing it for free. Other dynamic content doesn't need to be text. Could be other things, right? Customers who viewed this item viewed this. This is considered content in Google's eyes. They have special offers and promotions. Other content they have: share your own customer images, right? Why spend money creating all these images, yourselves, when customers are going to do it for you? That's dynamic content. Amazon goes as far as to put customer video reviews. Why create a product video when customers will do it for you? This is all content. You want this on your page. Amazon's been doing this for years. Again, here are some examples of images people uploaded. This is dynamic content. This gets people engaging in your brand. This gives people a reason to write a review on your site if you set it up for that. So again, dynamic content. Now, if you're a local business owner, you might say, well, I can't do that. But you can, right? One pet peeve I have is people that write dumb blogs. Usually blogs that are just about nothing or just search engine friendly and just built for content. But instead of doing that, why don't you build something that's actually useful? Like, for example, a QA section. You as a small business owner, as a local business owner, you can engage with your current customers by creating a simple QA, question and answer section on your website. Allow people to not only come on and read them, but also ask questions. And so then you answer them. And so now you're opening up a dialogue, you're getting text written on your website. You could even put some of the top QAs on your homepage to rotate fresh content. That's a fantastic way to do it as a local business owner. Again, if you're a small business owner as well, and if you do have a blog, you don't need to limit yourself to writing. Why not open it up? Have people guest post. Reach out to other companies. Link exchanges are dead. But at the same time, why not exchange links or content with people? Reach out to people in your community or people that relate to you and allow them to write for you. You write, one blog post a week, and maybe they write one blog post a month. Allow people, to engage in your company. You don't need to stick to the standards. I know that's another great way to get almost free content on your site and to get it ever rotating. Another tip is to update content or even remove old content and then put 301 redirects or canalization in place. So if you don't know what 301 redirects are or canalization, do some searches online and you'll come up with it. But basically what it tells you is that if you have a bunch of content, perhaps that even no one reads, but still is valuable in the search engines, well, why not update it and then redirect it? So for example, here's this car repossession timeline and surrendering timeline. It's just a few paragraphs. It's not that useful. At the same time, it ranks number one in the search engine for car repression timeline. So it's still valuable in Google's eyes. This page is important. So the tip is, post Panda, post Penguin, do an inventory of the pages you have on your website and find out ones are valuable and which ones aren't. The which ones are not, don't just delete them. Why not recreate them and then redirect these old pages to them? Or, just take this and update the content. Perhaps put a video in here, some images, right? Put some useful information, build on it. So we find fantastic results when people take their old content that no one's, using, that has high bounce rates, and they're updating or creating new ones and then redirecting. Especially post Panda, that's worked fantastic to get people out of trouble or out of rankings that have been dropping. Another tip, social engagement. Now, a lot of people are familiar with this, right? Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all these things, Google+. But to do it successfully kind of takes an art as well. So one tip for social engagement is not to make it awkward. Make sure it fits in. So one fantastic way to do that would be Facebook comments. So instead of having a blog and having normal comments, right, add Facebook comments. Not only does it produce text and dynamic text on your site, but it also starts the engagement process. Again, all these are standards. I'm sure you know about it. When you're writing stuff, have the like, the Google+, the LinkedIn, the tweet. Have that there for people to engage in. But try to get creative with it. At the same time, when you're creating content, you definitely want to associate who writes it with a real person. So you want to have an author bio. Not just an author bio, but this needs to be coded correctly. Right? So Jeff Foster, that's me, that needs to be linked correctly with a rel author tag to my Google Plus profile. Right? Because Google wants to say, hey, who really is Jeff? How valuable is him? How many people does he have on Facebook or Twitter? How many people does he have on Google Plus? Right? How valuable is Jeff Foster? And that's going to help me say, okay, how valuable is this content? Not just is this content good because 100 people could have written the same content, but how valuable is Jeff Foster? So do the search rel author tag and make sure you're coding the content that you create correctly. Again, that's going to engage people in your brand. Alright, and the final tip is on videos. To create optimized content, add videos to your website. So here's just an example, right? It's a fantastic way to get content on your site. Content is not just text anymore, right? When you do a search in the search engines for this product, right, Google says this is text. This is content, right? It's a video. And hey, this video, which we added to our client's site, is ranking #1 for this product, right? And it's very valuable. Even if you just search for that product ID, it's there. And then even if you search for Pandora, right, just the product, it's still there. So Google values this type of content highly, and so do users. When they come to your website, they just don't want to see a nice picture. They say, what is this? But they want to see a nice video of that product, rotating, how it looks in real time, right? Up close and personal. So create videos for your products. That's going to be optimizing your site. So I know this is a long tutorial and it's a bunch of examples, but hopefully these examples give you some ideas on how you can better optimize your site to post Panda, post Penguin. Again, the rule of thumbs, the principles are: 1, give user experience a priority; 2, become an expert in your field and then publish that online through your site; and then finally, track to make sure your site is performing. Remember, we were tracking in Google Analytics. We were looking for old pages to see if they're performing. Do the research and see if your site's actually performing, or you just have a bunch of content on the site that's kind of dead.